up, everyone, and welcome back to RYZE Hoops. I am Symone Stanley, and today I am joined by your 2022 2A Georgia High School Basketball Championship head coach from Westside, Coach Hunter. Thank you so much.
Hey, thanks for the invitation. Good evening.
Of course. So we're going to talk about what to expect from you guys this season, but looking back at last season, if you had one word to describe last season, what's that word and why?
Well, I would say growth. The reason I say that because it took us a few losses and then a lot of adversity to get to the point to where the guys started to believe in themselves. Skill wasn't ever an issue, playing hard wasn't, but the mental part of it. So last year we kind of hung our hats on the word mindset. You know, this season here we're trying to transition that into a mentality.
I like that. So when you look back at last season, what are some things that you definitely want replicated this season for continued success?
The resilience. We got to have that. Last year we were down a lot of games, but you know we focused on making sure the guys understood the importance of attaching the right emotion to the situation that's going on. Because you know when you're young, you want to yell at each other a lot, and it's not what you're saying; it's kind of how you're saying it.
Yeah.
So, once they started to communicate a little more effectively and talk to each other, then they understood. Because sometimes they were right. But, you know, somebody yelling at you a lot of times, you know, you don't want to hear that, you know. So, and basketball is a stop and go sport. So,
what's the biggest change when it comes to your roster, especially coaching high school basketball? There's so many changes each year. What's the biggest change? Are there any key pieces that you guys lost from last season?
Lost a lot of key, and this is going to kind of hurt us early on, but we lost a lot of key role players. And, you know, you never know the importance of that until, you know, you get your key guys going and then, you know, coaches start the game plan to stop them. And then you got to redirect yourself. And, you know, your bench has to be strong in terms of making sure the guys understand the system. So we practice everybody the same way and making sure our role players, and we lost some seniors that were role players. So, and they were very, very vital to our success. So we got to try to replicate that in terms of making sure our young guys step up. But, you know, you can't substitute for experience. And we're going to be depending on a lot of the younger guys to step in those role positions this year.
So can you give us some names of some of those younger guys we should be on the lookout for this season?
You talking about the role players? Yes. Javon Webb. We're going to kind of have to lean on him. Little kid named Zion Briggs. He actually is a senior this year. He came off. He helped us a lot, but his confidence was kind of shooken last year. Dontrell Jackson is going to be another one of our key role guys, and Bobby Blackwell, you know, he transferred, now he's back. We're going to have to depend on him to give us some positive minutes at a certain point in time. But the key thing is we can't expect too much too early, you know.
That's true. So this summer, this fall, this off season, what was the goal of the team when it came to conditioning and getting better? Were there any areas you guys were keying in on?
Well, the guys were pretty much focused on getting their rings. You know, we didn't get our rings till August. So, you know, we worked this summer, and we went to Atlanta and played a few games. We had some key losses. I felt like, you know, you have to grow throughout the summer because you don't actually win state championships in the summer, but you can lose them. So we had to trust a lot of guys early on. And I mean, we only lost 3 games last year. And I think one of the tournaments in Atlanta, we may have lost 3. So I was, you know, curious to see how the guys was going to respond because those role players that I just mentioned would have been very key into succeeding to win those games. However, you know, we bounced back. I think we're okay. But like I said, you know, we starting our season off with a tough schedule. So we'll see where we at early.
So what's the identity of this team this season? What do you expect it to be?
I expect them. I don't call the guys seniors now. I call them veterans. Okay, and the identity I expect is leadership and composure. We've been down 11. We've been down 15. You know, we've been there. Okay, and to actually have to coach them through those situations and get them to believe in our system, in our program. But not only that, you got to model that on the sideline too, because if I'm on the sideline jumping and screaming when we're down, it's kind of hard for them to get the message. So I expect, when it comes to this season here, our veterans to lead and be very mature in key situations. And I always tell them, losses, sometimes they're inevitable. However, losses become lessons, and then lessons become blessings when you learn from them.
I like that. Losses, lessons, lessons, blessings. It's all in the mindset, right?
Right. That's right.
So give me one word. What's one thing that has to be executed this season for you guys to run it back? Well, it doesn't have to be one word, but one area that has to be executed.
I was going to say two words. It's going to be effective communication. And what I mean by that is some of our younger guys, we played in front of some large crowds last year. So, you know, our juniors last year, at some point in time, I can tell they were not necessarily intimidated, but they became a little uncomfortable because when you start playing for the wrong crowd, you kind of forget and lose your identity in terms of who we are. And when you're playing in front of a sellout crowd, you start wanting people to cheer for you. And I try to tell the guys all the time, man, what's best for you may not be what's best for the team. So just kind of understand that concept and we'll be okay.
So sticking true to their personal game and the overall game of the team.
Yeah.
So lastly, Coach, looking forward to the schedule. You mentioned a couple of times that you guys have some tough matchups early on. What are some key matchups, key games in this schedule that jumps out to you?
Well, I mean, November 11th, we're in the Ricky Moore Invitational. And we start off our season with Grovetown, and they're very, very, very disciplined and decent ball club. Darren is doing a hell of a job over there with them in the past few years, and they were state champions this year. And our second game of the season, I think we got Eagles Landing down at the Jones County Tip-Off Classic, and they were runner-up in the state. And then we got Cross Creek. Kelly's doing a hell of a job over there with those guys too. They've been battle tested just like Grovetown and just like Eagles Landing. So, and then we got Augusta Christian. Brandon is doing a hell of a job over there with those guys, and they were state champions. So hats off to those guys and all the basketball coaches because so much is expected of us with limited resources at times, but we kind of got to work with what we have. So we got like 3 state champions and a runner-up, in our first 5 or 6 games. So, hey, here's what it is.
It, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome, Coach. Well, we can't wait to see what you guys have cooked up and what you guys look like on the court this season. It's basically November now, so it's time to get going.
Opportunity to share a little bit about what's going on at Westside High School.
Yes, of course. Well, guys, I am Symone. He is Coach Hunter. We are here with RYZE Hoops. Thank you guys so much for joining us.